This is my third time filming this intro, so I'm hoping that this is going to be the right run through. So, if you don't know me already, I made a how I passed the CompTIA ITF Plus test in a week video in like November, and it actually did pretty well. And you will be glad to know that recently I actually passed my Security Plus test, so I'm now Security Plus certified. And just for reference, I took a cybersecurity class this past semester. I'm a high school student. So basically in class we went over the Security Plus content. So I had about 5 months of just basic exposure to these concepts. Like, we never really reviewed or anything. So it was just very light exposure to everything on the test. But like at the end of the month, our teacher offered this thing called Security Plus Bootcamp, where basically we all got together for like 8 hours a day and we just crammed for the Security Plus exam. And at the end of the week, we all had the opportunity to take the exam, which I'm very grateful for. And luckily I passed. So I'm just going to be sharing how we crammed, the resources I used, and study methods that I thought were most helpful, and really what helped me pass the Security Plus, because genuinely, I'm not lying to you when I say that I did not expect to pass. What we had gone over in class seemed very difficult to me. There were a lot of things that sure, we went over them once, but like when I was studying, I did not remember any of this stuff at all. So I was honestly so worried about Security Plus for that reason. And I actually ended up passing, which just was such a pleasant surprise for me. I passed with a 778 out of 900. The passing score is 750, so as long as you get a 750 or above, you're Security Plus certified. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the first thing that I did that helped me prepare. So when you're cramming all of this material down in like a short period of time, I mean, you may have had months of exposure to this content, but it really is imperative that you just really cram it all in and really get it like floating around in your brain before you take the test, because sometimes it can just be hard to recall certain bits and pieces of information, but just like going over it and refreshing that in your mind will be all that you need to apply that information properly on the test. So I have a list on my phone here of what I did, and okay, the first thing I did was I used these Professor Messer video notes. I'm pretty sure you download the PDF off of his website. My teacher did provide these for me, so I'm not sure if they cost money or if they're free, but I know that Professor Messer does have a Security Plus course on YouTube for free, which I'll link below. He basically has videos going over all the course content, and he's really great at explaining things. Personally, my school used a platform called TestOut to teach the Security Plus material, so it basically had like videos and fact sheets for every concept. My opinion was that TestOut was way too complicated and really confusing, honestly. I felt like it taught more than you needed to know for the exam, which kind of made it hard to remember anything, if that makes any sense. Like, it just gave me such information overload, but Professor Messer's content is just so condensed and easy to understand. So I would really recommend going over those videos, like if you just need to refresh certain concepts. Now the way we did this was we went over these notes. So we would just literally flip through it. See, he has bullet points for everything. I don't know if you can see because it's kind of far away. But I would go through the notes, and if I didn't know something, I would look it up. So have a computer in front of you. If you don't know something in the notes, look it up, and then on a separate sheet of paper, see what I did here, I write down everything I need to know about that topic that I didn't know already, because the science has shown that writing stuff down is equivalent to reading it 7 times. So whenever I'm learning something new, whenever there's a concept that I kind of have a hard time getting from my memory, or I just genuinely have no clue what it is, I'll just look it up and then I'll write it down on a separate sheet of paper. And that helped me massively. I think honestly most of my improvement in Security Plus came from writing this stuff down. And I would definitely also advise, like, I mean, you already saw them, but like highlight stuff and put stars by really important concepts that you need to know. Because like, if you have the chance while you're on your way to the testing center or like 10 minutes before your exam, you should bring some notes and just read over them. And when you read over them, there are going to be a lot of notes, so you want to have the important stuff starred and highlighted so that it's easy to review. Alright, so the second thing that I did that really helped me prepare for the exam is I downloaded a PDF of the Security Plus objective sheet, which you can get from the CompTIA website. Just Google Security Plus and then the test edition you're taking. I think I took the 601. Yeah, I took the 601. Make sure that you look up the right, I don't know what to call it, the right like test number when you're doing it, because CompTIA has different editions of every test that they release like in a certain time frame. So if you're studying for the 601, make sure that you don't download the 501 exam objective sheet, because they do change their objectives, so they change like what you need to know for the test every few years. So make sure you download the right objective sheet. I almost downloaded the wrong one, and that probably would have been catastrophic. But anyways, this objective sheet basically has everything that's going to be potentially tested on. So it'll have all the concepts that you need to know before you take the exam, all the things that they might ask you about. What really helped me was not just downloading this, but I would advise either printing it off or using a PDF editor. My favorite is Kami. You just upload the PDF onto there, and then you have like a text highlighter option. And what I like to do is I go through the objective sheet, and if I can explain the bullet point to someone else, like if I know it, I'll just highlight it green. So I'll go through all of the objectives. I highlight green the stuff that I know and that I can explain, and the stuff that I don't know, stuff that's not highlighted, I will watch a Professor Messer video, or I'll just read over the notes on it, or I'll do like a Google search on it and just make sure that I know it. And then once you do that, I would highlight it yellow, and then the next day go over it again and see if you can turn any of those yellow things to green. So just keep going through the objective sheet and highlighting until everything's green. I mean, that's just a guaranteed way to pass the exam. Like, if you genuinely like take nothing away from this video, if you don't want to use any other study strategies, that's pretty much guaranteed to get you a good score, because it means you have to actually know everything. But that is a little overwhelming for some people, so if that's not your route, here's another thing that I did. So if you don't want to do like the whole objective sheet thing, look, I get it. What I would advise you do is you like look up quizzes for each domain of Security Plus. So there are 5 domains, basically like how in high school classes, or like I'm sure college classes too, you have units or modules. There are 5 domains. So let me see if I actually have the names in here. Okay, so like domain 1 is attacks, threats, and vulnerabilities. Domain 2, architecture and design. Domain 3, implementation. Domain 4, operations and incident response. Domain 5, governance, risk, and compliance. So there are those 5 domains, right? What you want to do is take like a practice quiz on each domain, and you see which ones you score the highest on and which domains you score the lowest on. That way, like if you're really crunched for time, study the domains that are hardest for you. Study the ones that you miss the most questions on. Alternatively, it's important to note that there's actually like a breakdown of the percentage values for each of these domains on the test. So like you may be quizzed more on section 1, domain 1, than you would be on other domains. It says here domain 1 is 24%, domain 2 is 21%, Domain 3 is 25%, Domain 4 is 16%, and Domain 5 is 14%. So ultimately, I would say go for Domains 1 and 3 and make sure you know those really, really well. I would probably advise actually making sure you have those nailed down first, since they do comprise almost 50% of your exam score. And once you have those domains down, if you're struggling with domain 2, 4, or 5, then work on those individually to get them up to a really good score. There are plenty of practice questions out there. I know that there's some Quizlets that have them for free. Personally, a resource that I would really recommend doing is purchasing Jason Dion's Udemy course. If you don't know, Udemy is like a website where they have a bunch of online courses that you can buy access to, and Jason Dion is just like a CompTIA teacher. Like, he has an ITF Plus course, he has a Network Plus course, a Security Plus course, and he's just really great at teaching stuff. I know that Jason Dion has like a course option where you buy all of his course videos and like a few practice tests, and then he should also have an option where you can just buy like 7 practice tests. And his practice tests are just known for being really accurate and really close to what you'd expect to see on the exam. So I would advise getting some of his practice tests because they really will help you see what you need to work on. One of his practice tests, every one of his practice tests, when you finish, it'll show you at the end the percentages of each domain that you missed or got right. So it'll show like you missed 50% of the domain 1 questions on this test. And that will really help you because then you know which domain specifically you need to work on. And his quizzes also include practice simulations at the beginning, which, as you know, the Security Plus will start off with I don't even remember how many. I think 3, 4, or 5 practice simulation questions where you may have to drag or drop stuff. You may have to configure a firewall. Let me think of the other one I had to do. Oh, or you may just even have to look at a bunch of code and identify what type of attack is occurring there. So if you don't get ready for those questions, I don't know if you'll be able to pass, because quite frankly, I'm pretty sure they're weighted more heavily than other questions. So you do really want to make sure that you're prepared for the performance-based questions at the beginning, because some of them are actually pretty easy if you just prepare beforehand. I got a question where it was showing me a bunch of lines of code and it was asking me what type of attack is it. And quite frankly, I had to guess on those ones. And although I passed, I know that that would be a really easy source of points to get if you just prepared beforehand and made sure that you knew how to identify each attack and what its code looked like. So I would definitely advise studying that. I mean, I'm sure you'll get a different test than I did, but that is something that they could throw out there. Also know what different components of a network an attack may compromise. I'm pretty sure I had some sort of question about drag and drop the parts of the network that you want to install these security features on to prevent X type of attack. Again, I think I guessed partially on that one, but I still passed. But I think I could have done better had I really prepared for that and made sure that I could apply the knowledge that I had in that performance-based question. So anyways, you want to do domain quizzes. Really focus on domains 1 and 3, as those are the most important and you're most likely to be quizzed on those domains. Once you have those domains, I don't know why I keep saying but anyways, once you have those domains ironed out, I would advise working on 2, 4, or 5 if you're struggling with those, and then take some Jason Dion practice tests, see which domains you may still need to work on, and definitely practice for the performance-based questions. I'm just now realizing that something I forgot to add was that if you miss questions on the Jason Dion practice tests, go over them and make sure that you know why you missed them. They always have an explanation, and if you can really see where your thought pattern went wrong, on those questions, then you'll be able to think about future questions the right way, if that makes any sense. Like sometimes it's really easy to get stuck in our ways and continually, well, especially for me, think, well, this way of thinking is right, so this must be the right answer. But these tests can sometimes humble you, and sometimes if you're approaching questions the wrong way, or you're not looking for the right things, then your thought pattern will cause you to miss a bunch of questions that you don't need to miss, if that makes any sense. So think about the test the way you need to in order to get the question right. I know you may want to cling on to your ways of thinking and your thought patterns, but if you notice that you're missing a lot of questions and you really don't know why, definitely identify your thought patterns. I noticed that this especially happened when I was dealing with questions talking about X incident happened at the company, what should they do next? What's their best first step to deal with this? And a lot of the time I'd be like, oh, well, they should obviously do this. But the answer would be something else, and it would just be because I was thinking about things the wrong way, or I had like a wrong belief in there somewhere that I needed to identify. Because if you have like a wrong belief about, especially about those problems where they're asking you to do X approach to fix this problem, it will mess you up. So make sure that you're thinking about those things the way that CompTIA wants you to think about them. Definitely read the question explanations, even for questions that you got right, but that you were just unsure about. So while you're taking the test, I would advise like keep a sticky note nearby and just write down the questions that you were unsure about or that you really were wavering back and forth on answer choices. Yeah, wavering back and forth between answer choices on. Sorry, I'm weaning myself off caffeine right now, so I'm just a little bit stuttery today, but it should be fine. Finally, I'm just going to give you guys some tips for what you can do on exam day, because it's really huge the way that you approach exam day and the way that you treat yourself before you take the exam. Definitely eat a good breakfast. It seems obvious, but a lot of people skip breakfast. You definitely don't want to before a test like this, because it took me almost the full hour and 30 minutes to take this test because I was really trying to focus on the questions and making sure that I was thinking everything through. And I know that it would have been a lot harder for me to focus if I hadn't had a good breakfast. Another important thing is water. Please make sure that you're hydrated. Water literally can make or break a testing experience, and be sure that you're drinking a lot beforehand. Now, obviously not too much, because you don't want to like have to go to the bathroom so badly during the tests that you can't focus. But definitely the night before, the day before, the morning of, like a few hours before, drink a lot of water. Do make sure that you can go to the bathroom beforehand though, so you don't have to like go really badly during the test. So I would advise not drinking too much like the hour before the test, but if you drink all the time leading up to that hour, then you should be fine, and it'll definitely help you a lot. Obviously this goes without saying, you should make sure you get a really good night of sleep before you take your test. I got at least 9 hours, and I did notice a big difference in my mental clarity, because the days before I hadn't really been sleeping as much, but the night before I decided to really get my sleep in because I did not want to mess up this test taking opportunity, and it paid off because I was able to focus really well. At my testing center, they offered earplugs. I'm not sure if yours will, but I would ask if you can have earplugs if they don't. I would just bring them anyways, because I know for a fact that there were other people in the testing room with me, and the clicking from them like clicking their mouse or just like fidgeting was driving me insane until I put the earplugs in. I definitely owe a lot of my test score to those complimentary earplugs. So definitely make sure you have that option. I don't know if you will, but it's something that I would definitely look into. they also gave like a whiteboard sheet and a marker, which personally I didn't end up needing, but that is an option. And I actually wasn't even aware that that was something I would be provided until I got in the testing room. So just know that you'll have that, and just trust yourself, honestly. Just take your time. Don't skip through the questions. I know that it may be easy to want to rush through the questions because you're stressed, but when I did that on the practice tests, I would always score really lowly. And I wasn't even passing the practice test before I took the Security Plus, which was why it was so surprising to me when I did pass Security Plus. But the main difference between Abigail, who was taking the practice tests, and Abigail who was taking the Security Plus was that Security Plus Abigail was reading the questions slowly, she was well rested, she was well hydrated, she was well fed, and she was really focusing on stuff and thinking things through before clicking the answer and moving on to the next question. Just think things through. You can trust yourself. Think about things logically. Don't get like really anxious or like fool yourself into overthinking things. It'll be a lot easier than you think as long as you don't overthink. Overthinking can definitely cause you to miss a lot of problems. Just really think about things logically. Sometimes it helps me to pretend like I was the one who wrote the question, because I don't know, it just kind of gives me insight as to what the person who wrote the question would be looking for. So I put myself in their shoes and I think, well, if I had written this question and worded it this way, what would the right answer be? And sometimes that can help show which answer is the obvious right answer. Because if you really put yourself in the shoes of the person who wrote the question, think about the way that they worded things. Like, really think about it. Why would they use this word instead of this word? Why did they specifically name drop this type of system or this type of attack? That will really help you eliminate the wrong answers. Just put yourself in their shoes, think about what answer they would be trying to lead you to when they were writing that question. And just take your time. I think that if you follow the tips that I've outlined in this video, and if you really trust yourself, drink a lot before your test, have a good breakfast, and use your complimentary earplugs, you will do absolutely great. And if I can pass the test with almost no faith in myself that I was gonna pass, then you can too, because really and truly I was not passing the Jason Dion practice tests probably because I was rushing, but I wasn't passing regardless. I didn't think that I could pass, but I took the Security Plus and I did pass, and it wasn't even like I was just 1 or 2 points over 750. Like, I was actually a good 20 points over that. So you can definitely do it too. I have faith in you, and if you have any questions about anything that I've said, just let me know, put them in the comments, and I'll respond to you as fast as I can. I will link all the resources that I've talked about in the description box, or I'll put it in the comments. It should be pretty easy to find. And thank you for watching this video. I hope that you do well on your test, and good luck.